guys, it's been a while, but welcome back to the deep dive to the upside down. I am one of your three hosts, Annie, and then we have. I'm gonna get this wrong all the time.
Yeah, it's hard. You have to like point the opposite way.
Yeah,
But and I'm Mr. Fuentes, and down here,
What's up, guys? It's Drew Dread, man.
and today we're going over. I think the episode before the biggest episode for the season. It is. I always butcher the name. The monster and the
Oh,
superhero.
yeah, the monster and superhero.
Yeah. And I think this is going to be a wonderful episode because we get to see a character build on a lot more on 11, how she feels like she's like some kind of monster, some freak, and everybody else thinks she's like the coolest fucking person in the world.
Hmm.
So let's get into this episode. Uh, the start of it was pretty weird because it didn't feel like it was like a normal Stranger Things kind of opening. We
Mhm.
had Dr. Owens at home, just kind of chillaxing.
In Nevada.
Oh no, yeah, it was Dr. Owens just kind of
Yeah.
chilling, relaxing, and then you hear like helicopters, the house is shaking,
Hmm.
and we're like, what the heck is going on? Pop out the military lieutenant coming out of that plane, and we're over here trying to figure out, well, why is he here? Why does he
Hmm.
need Dr. Owens? Um,
Mhm.
they're discussing what's going on in Hawkins. Dr. Owens is trying to explain to the military guy, like, hey, there's something really strange going on in Hawkins that's going to be bigger than what the military is, and military's not going to stop it. And the military lieutenant is kind of like, we know it's 11. 11's alive somewhere. Someone's helping her regardless. She's somewhere. We know she's alive, and we need to destroy her. And I'm like, thinking in my head, like, she's a fucking kid.
If only
Like,
y'all knew, yeah.
yeah, only if y'all knew what they went through.
Yeah.
But he's saying he doesn't know anything about her, that she's dead. And he's like, well, if I wanted to have a chat, I would have called you on the phone. So they come to raid his house to see if there's any evidence linking him to 11 or
Hmm.
even to Dr. Brenner, if there's anything out there. The wife's freaking out. Like, come on. Like, you can't just
Well,
do
yeah,
that
when,
to
when
your
your whole
wife.
house is shaking, I mean, like, of course I'm going to be, from the
Yeah.
helicopters landing. So, and a bunch of army men just breaking in and investigating your house like any other, like, I guess, a normal day, so,
He's all, it's a
Right.
normal Tuesday for me.
yeah.
But,
It's like, don't worry, honey. This
Yeah.
is this is normal.
This happens.
so this happened, remember, like 2 years ago? Like, it happened. She's like, oh yeah, you know what? We'll just get over it. But the only thing is that I remember if you get like a shakedown like that, they don't clean up after it. They just leave
Oh, no.
everything the
Yeah.
way it is. They're just like, and then walk
I
out
I thought that
afterwards.
too when I watched it. I'm just like, I'm just gonna leave everything like dirty. All right, cool. Like, fuck me,
Cool.
right? Like,
Fucking, they're there making a
We
sandwich,
didn't
not
find
even looking
nothing.
for it.
Well, I helped you with your spring cleaning.
yeah.
I took what you didn't want out of it. Um, but yeah, they didn't find anything. But the lieutenant feels like there's something else going on, and he's not. And Owens is not saying anything, so he's
Hmm.
kind of giving him that side eye as they're going back up into the sky, into the copper and stuff. It's just like, we know what's going on. They don't know. But at least we got a little bit more detail of what Brenner's ideas were with those kids and everything. It was like using them for attacks, or
Hmm.
how did he say it? It was
It's like remote
yeah,
assassination, right?
remote assassination. And I was like, damn, he was really using these kids. But maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But who knows?
Well, originally, like from the very first episode, he was using them for spying, or that's what it seemed like. He was trying to use them for spying.
Yeah,
He's like, well, hone into this guy and hear his phone conversation and let me know what he's saying.
I forgot about that.
So I think he was mostly using them for surveillance, but I guess they could kill if they needed to.
They have the power. I have the power. to do it. So I feel like that was kind of interesting because it wasn't like a normal opening scene that we would see,
Yeah.
especially the previous ones, like with them. It just kind of escalated a little bit more just to know what's going on. Um, after
Yeah, I
that cut,
remember. I remember watching it. Like I like the shot to start off with. It showed like was it like Ruth, Nevada, or something like that,
hmm
and then it showed like some random lady. I'm just like, who the hell lives in Nevada from Stranger Things? I'm just like, what the fuck is
I
going
was
on?
honestly when I saw that, I thought it was what's her name, Susie.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
At first, and I was like, "Damn, is it Susie already grown ass up?" I was like, "Damn!" Like
I wouldn't be surprised.
showing Dustin's life
Yeah,
after it. I'm like, this is pretty nice. But then when we saw Dr. Owens, I was like, oh, never mind. We're somewhere else.
yeah.
Fucking
Yeah,
hilarious.
it was a weird opening. I was kind of thrown off because this is like right after the Angela incident, and you're just like, what the hell
Huh?
is this? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Are we going back in time?
Yeah.
It's another flashback. It's like speaking of Angela getting hit, so we get into the aftermath of Angela getting hit. People are staring at Elle. Um, Police are, I think, there, or ambulance there. I wasn't really sure. Uh,
Ambulance.
and
Ambulance.
yeah, and there's just a bunch of craziness going on.
A bunch of craziness, and then the whole comedic relief with Jonathan and Argyle coming in, like all high as hell, just like
Taking them back home,
what's going on here,
saying
guys?
it's
Like
fine, or something like that.
it could have
That's
been
why that's why the
worse.
wheels are not made of wood, man. They're made of rubber. Because skate attacks happen all the time, man. He's like, imagine if glad it wasn't one with the blade, like whoosh.
Oh, that would have been so gross. Just slice it right off. And I'm like, the kids in the back with their eyes big, like, what the fuck is going
What's
on
going
here?
on? Yeah.
But
It was
it was at
definitely
least
a
nice. At
very
least nice
funny
to have
scene.
a very, very
What did
funny
they say at the end? Pop, 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 pop.
scene.
Blip. I think they were like blip, 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 blip.
They're like, that's a funny word. Blip, blip. And they just keep on going with
It
it.
was
And I'm
so
just like,
stoned.
God,
Yeah, they played high people so well.
it works.
Me last night.
Cutting into the whole highness, they get home, and lo and behold, we have our lovely little housewife Murray back, and he's like, "You kids like risotto?" And I'm like,
The
"Absolutely
hell?
not." But
They're like,
like,
what the hell are you doing here?
Right?
they're trying to realize, like, why is he here? Why is he in mom's apron? And why is he cooking risotto in the kitchen? Like, but they all sit down for dinner, trying to comprehend why Murray's there. Murray gives us this whole story that he's coming out here to help out a client and realizes, hey, I think they moved down here. And reaches out to Joyce, or Joyce and
Joyce.
him bump into each other at the market or something like that. And it's just kind of funny because they play it off like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah,
girl,
like
you
this didn't
called
happen on
him.
purpose. Yeah.
You called him because of this Russian doll that you found.
Yeah.
Right.
But
No, it was pretty
hilarious.
funny. You could tell they just weren't buying it, but it was just, all into up to the point where she's like, "Yeah, I would stay longer, but you have that trip in Alaska." And then,
And everyone's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I forgot to tell you kids. I'm going to Alaska. And everyone's like, hold up, wait a minute, what? Like,
yeah, that's where
randomly?
the botanicals live. I'm gonna go meet with the encyclopedia people at the botanicals.
The botanicals. And that's when Joyce is trying to explain to Jonathan that he's going to be in charge while she's gone. And Jonathan's like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, you're leaving? Yeah, man, she's going to Alaska.
Alaska? What's in Alaska?
The botanicals,
Botanicals.
man.
I just like how Jonathan's not comprehending everything, and Argyle's like, the functioning high guy, like, yeah, I understand what's going on. I'm gonna let him know.
Right? He's just like the pro at this point. Just
Yeah,
it's
and
so
Jonathan's
stoned.
just there, like, But
Jonathan, you could tell he's only been smoking for like a month. Doesn't
yeah,
really know what the hell's going on, and
he's not functioning.
he's just like I'm gone, bros.
Fucking
Um,
hilarious.
I do like I remember, well, not remember, but I did want to point out like Argyle's pretty funny, but like I think Murray's character definitely like shined the most, like at least for random
comedic,
quips,
yeah.
like comedic, like what do they call it? Comedic timing? No, it's like comedic points, but you know, he was like, y'all just tell me the truth. Y'all don't like the risotto, right? He's like, no, it's good, man. It's smacking. He's like, smacking?
Smacking? Or like
There's
when
a smacking
who is
sketch.
this guy? I still don't know who this guy is. Like it's just random like
Oh, so
puns.
funny.
It just helped with that whole like relief.
Tension and everything in between.
Yeah, because that's when I guess who was it?
Mike. I
Mike
think.
made like a comment, and that's when Levin dipped, and that's where Argyle was like, "Let's just smack it," and then Murray was like, "I still don't know who this is."
Just the way that he like did it too was perfect. He's like shaking his head, like about to take a bite. I still don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Like,
it just made it even better. Like
I just like
So
what made me laugh like too was just like, because you meet Murray from like season 1 and season 2 and season 3, right? He's in all the seasons. Anyway,
I think
season
he's
2.
in season 3.
yeah, I think he starts in 2.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
And so you kind of know him as like a paranoid guy, like so it's like totally in his like it's totally in his character to like question the people he doesn't know around him, like who is this? Why is he here? Why is he here during these secret operations we're trying to do in Russia? And so it's just funny that if you don't really think about like his background, you're kind of just like, why does he care who this guy is? Like he's obviously just a friend of the family, but he's a very uncomfortable, suspicious man who wants to have all.
I've never thought about that till right now.
Yeah.
Who has his background is like government conspiracies and things like that. So he's like, is this a plant? Is this a mole? Like
just throwing shit around. It's a rat.
But no, Argyle's a good guy.
He is a good guy. I love
Harmless.
it. Harmless man. So after that whole little shabackle schmacking risotto going on, we have Eddie freaking out in the boathouse or the boat garage, waiting for the response of the crew back in Hawkins to come in. Dustin scares the shit out of him with a box of honeycombs and some yoo-hoos for this guy.
That shit look good.
They sit down, kind of break the news to him, like, hey, the cops think 100% that you did it.
You're kind of fucked.
Yeah, but they haven't mentioned your name yet, so we're still good. Like, we're still good. And this is when Eddie's thinking in his head, and he verbally says it, that it's the hunt the freak. Once they find out it's him, everyone's going to go after him. Everyone's going to be wanting to hunt him and everything. It's kind of sad because, like, Eddie really didn't do this. We know this as fans watching, but they don't. They just think some weird guy that plays Dungeons and Dragons.
Suspect number 1.
Yeah.
I want to point this out because it got pointed out before, and I thought it was pretty funny because how much hate like Jason got for a lot of his name's Jason, right? The other guy.
Yeah.
The jock.
Yeah. How much hate Jason got for a lot of this series, but then you saw a lot of the opposite for Billy. Like Billy was obviously a bad person, but everyone was like, "Oh, well, poor Billy." Blah 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 blah. Like Billy was an asshole. He was a racist. He was just everything that a bad person basically could embody. Was Billy, who had one act of kindness at the end of his life, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what a sad thing. What a blah, blah, blah." I was like, no, he was a horrible person. Whereas Jason, he legitimately thought this guy possibly killed his girlfriend, which all evidence pointed to that for the most part. He wanted answers. He was distraught. This is all normal reactions for a human, technically.
That's going through grief.
when you think about it. But everyone's like, oh no, he's the asshole, blah blah blah. And it's just like, no, he was not that he was in his right and what he did was wrong and the way he was going about it was wrong. Definitely, you shouldn't be wanting harm or anything, but he wasn't really a bad person. He just wanted to know what happened to his chick. He wanted answers.
Mhm.
He wanted revenge, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just really strange to me how much people celebrate like his death and everything in between. Like, yeah, he did some bad shit in between.
We did.
You know, but again, you know, he was grieving. He didn't know what was going on. He just misunderstood the whole situation. But he wasn't a bad guy. Like, he really wasn't. Like, I didn't. He let something consume him in the end, and it fucked up everything.
Yeah, like I do agree. I mean, if my husband didn't fight for me like that, I would have been like, well, damn, was I just chopped liver or something? But like even then, I feel like with Billy, it was like a different kind of type of connection because we had it with Max, and some kids can be like, well, okay, I can relate to that because I have an older brother that's fucking an asshole, or I've been through this kind of situation where I was the stepsister coming in and my stepbrother didn't like me, or like, they could use that kind of
Mhm.
way to connect, but doesn't give him any right to be racist, to
Yeah.
try to steal someone's wife and try to run over kids out of the road because you didn't like the kids that your sister was hanging out with. Like, but that one act of kindness changed everything. But if we kept Jason in and we gave him that one act of kindness, everyone would change. Everybody would be like, oh, I love Jason. Yeah, Jason's
Yeah.
like the hottest character in the thing. Like, you know what I mean? It just, I guess you win some, you lose some, but they killed him off for a reason. Being that maybe his character was going to escalate a little bit more, and they're like, nah, we'll just cut it off. Yeah.
A lot of people cried when Billy died, but we all were happy when they showed Jason getting cut down.
Yeah, that's that guy.
And then everyone's like over here with tissues for Billy. But I think it's just because of, like I said, it's that connection that we see. It's that brother sister connection. It may just be because they're just arguing because they just don't like each other because of the age difference or whatever it may be. It's just that, everyone felt kind of different with that connection. And then the way that they perceived both of them as well too. So like you got Jason as this cool jock kid that's using every excuse to make it seem like it's all about the team and all about him and everything. Like the mall fire, that whole speech in episode 1, I was like, do it for Billy, do it for Barb, do it for
Oh
our
yeah.
Sergeant Hopper. I'm like, that's a fucking dick move. Like, why
Yeah.
would you just bring that in? That doesn't have anything to deal with it, you know? And then it's just the way that they perceived both of them and their character wise. Like, you got
Yeah,
this bad boy Billy that just moved from California down here that doesn't even want to be here, but he's well, I'm gonna still date some of these chicks and mess around with these chicks, maybe even take some wives or two, but it's just the way that they perceived both of the characters, and you could see where a lot of people were grown to that bad boy aesthetic and then to the jockey, asshole type. So that was two different characters, but I can kind of see, like, if we would have given Jason a little bit of a chance or a little bit more of a story arc in here, there would probably be people that liked Jason in this. And
My,
I'm not for
my,
one, but
no, yeah. He
no,
needed more dialogue.
He definitely like did bring himself off as that average privileged dude who like would have just kind of used his privilege to make himself better through life and kind of stayed the same personality that basically what he wants he gets type of scenarios and things like that. So I do see that those are definitely people that most people can relate about. Like, oh, I don't like those types of guys, privileged little bastards.
that use their money to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, we get the crew talking about like how they've fought this monster before. Robin has dealt with it with the human fleshy type, and the rest of them have dealt with like the demodogs and like the dust and whoosh and all of that. And they're explaining to Eddie, which Eddie's reaction is like not phased, not like oh my god, like y'all just fought this thing? Or you fought a fucking monster? Like not reacting to it any type of way, which as a person coming from the inside out, like looking at it, is a little sus. Like he's not
Hmm.
freaking out, but I guess because he plays Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, like it doesn't phase him to see like a type of monster out or like, you know, because he plays these kind of mysterious games. But I thought his reaction would have been different when they told him
Mhm.
about 11 or anything like that. So I don't know. It just felt a little weird. We hear sirens in the background. Everyone's panicking and freaking out, telling
I think
Eddie to
it's for
hide
them.
underneath the
Yep.
boat, put the tarp over him, and we get a cut, and it's Nancy freaking out, talking to the cops about Fred, where she last saw Fred, where he was at, and it
It
kind of
shows
hit a little
Fred.
bit. Yeah,
Yep.
he chose
Shows
Fred.
Fred fucked up.
Yeah, which it was, I guess, from his take or like the way that he had died is that he had that guilt from a car crash
Mm.
that he had caused or he was a part of or whatever. But um, his was pretty, I say, pretty gruesome because he's in the middle of the road,
Yep.
out of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, and it just kind of was like, damn, out like that. Like you have a portal open up in the middle of the road. You have cars that are going to be passing by that, and just whoop into the upside
Not
down.
only
Like,
that, the dude's like 30 feet in the air. So like when he's like dead, he just falls an extra 30 feet to the ground to the concrete. So it's like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
so
Like at least
Yeah.
Chrissy took it the easy way, where she was just lifted up maybe like a good couple
True.
of feet, and then like, but him, he's all 30 feet. Bet we'll take
Yeah.
him, or
All
whatever.
right.
But yeah,
An
him.
asshole back now.
Nancy's telling them, I saw him next to the dog. He next time he was gone. The dog's barking and freaking out, and then after that, we don't see him again. And she relayed everything back to the detective that was there, that let them through. And he's like, "What? I don't know." And then, um, she brings up the whole Victor Creel again, and everyone's like, yeah, he's locked up, there's no way that he's gotten out, like reassuring her that they're okay and they got this handled, which they don't, but
Mhm.
they have this taken care of and handled. We have the crew just kind of show up, and
That was a cool shot, the way they pulled up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you see that relief that Nancy has when she sees Steve,
Mhm.
and was just like,
She feels
waves,
protective.
my boy Steve, one
Better
move
wear
at a time.
better wear protection.
But showing up, give that little bit.
Oh
of
wait,
relief
he's trying to have
Nancy.
6 kids. Don't wear
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah,
Oh
don't
yeah,
worry.
true. Shit.
We need them 6 kids. We need that RV scene at the ending of season 5 with all the kids, everything. Like we have to have it.
On the way to the movies.
On the way to the movies with Max and
There you
Lucas
go.
in the
See,
back.
hit me up, Duffer Brothers.
There you go. We're giving you ideas, guys. Book us just for that
I
one.
mean, we
episode.
already gave them ideas that they need to put the last 2 episodes in theaters.
Yeah.
The next season,
Oh yeah,
it's gonna
yeah,
be 2
yeah.
hours. Like
That'd be fucking dope.
if this season finale was 2 hours, you think the other season finale is gonna be like or 2.5 hours? You think the other one's gonna be 3 hours?
Nah,
No.
they're gonna be like 4 hours. We're gonna be in the
Right.
theaters for 8 hours, just sitting
Goddamn Lord of the
down.
Rings trilogy.
We're gonna. I hated that when the theaters they would do like the whole trilogies like before the actual movie. They're like, hey, this is like way back when, but whenever they did like the Harry Potters, like, hey, this Deathly Hollows Part 1 came out, and then Part 2 was gonna come out like the next year. So they would do the movie before Deathly Hollows, then Deathly Hollows 1 and Deathly Hollows 2, all in one sitting. So you're sitting there for like 16 hours watching all of this. They did that with the Lord of the Rings, I think, once too, because they did Lord of the Rings 1 and 2. They did that in the theaters, and they played it like back to back, and that was like another 14 hours of your life just sitting there. You know, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Don't
Yeah,
know
they
how they
did
do
that.
that.
Over here at what is it? I think it was Century 16 over there in
Mhm.
Corpus. They did the Planet of the Apes, all 3 movies. Whenever they got to the last movie, War of the Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
I watched all of them. It was basically I was there from like noon and left at like 9 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's there all day long,
Watch they do like the Marvel
surviving
movies.
on nachos, hot dogs, and popcorn.
Yeah,
And
you gotta
soda,
spend your whole paycheck there, literally on the food. I'm just
basically.
worth it for that movie theater popcorn all the time. We go into the crew in California. Jonathan made breakfast for everybody, which he's not high, but he made breakfast. There's some Agos just sitting there, but no L to eat them. Um, Everyone feels kind of weird because, it's the night after the whole Angela situation. And they're all trying to discuss to see where they want to go. Do they want to go to the movies? And Will's like, the movie that Jonathan mentioned is going to suck anyway, so we shouldn't even go and go see it, which I miss being able to take the newspaper and look at the movie times and highlight which one that you wanted to go to, or like calling the phone number and like waiting for the movie that you want and see what times that they have. And then
Push 2 for Insidious. Press 3 for Pokemon.
Never experienced that, so.
What? I was like, if you lived in Corpus, you had a theater that changed its name 3 times because of 3 different incidents that happened, and they couldn't take that.
Tinseltown.
Tinseltown, and then it changed into Starplex because of
Starplex.
the whole, what was it? It was a shooting, right? That
There
happened.
was a shooting or something that happened, yeah.
Yeah, it was gory, super
Oh, wow.
gory. And then they put a curfew on for that whenever they changed to Starplex, and then from Starplex it was the whole rats situations, and then
Tested with rats. And
yeah, and then now we're at AMC.
Just-
Third
Just
time's
like,
the
where'd-
charm.
Just like, you know what? Just name it the parent company. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
AMC.
we'll be okay. Shitty theater, but expensive food. Wouldn't do it. But we get the whole crew there. Mike takes the plate to 11, which 11 has her door open to the, what is it, 3 inches?
3 inches.
3 inches that Hopper has told her to keep her door at. And 11's fixing the whole little display that she
Little
had.
project she had.
Yeah.
That Angela fucked up.
Angela and the crew fucked up. And
I
it's
think
kind of
that-
cute because you see her just there, and she already had a plate of food. I think the plate of Eggos already there, so Mike takes that one, puts the new plate of
fresh
Eggos
ones.
there, asking her, like, why is she not eating? Is there something wrong? And this is when we get like a big fight in between both of them. Like, we haven't seen them argue the way that they are. We've usually seen them all cutesy, always kissing and loving and everything. This is the first time we actually see them like in some kind of situation or distraught in between, in that little bridge in between them. It's kind of like cracking, and Mike is just like trying to ask her what's wrong, and she's just like, well, I tell you that I love you and you don't tell
I
me
don't say
it
it
back. And he's like, well, I do love you every day. I've always told you that I love you. And then she pulls out the motherfucking
receipts.
receipts. She takes out every single note from Mike, and I'm like, ooh boy, you fucked
My worst
up.
nightmare.
Yeah, he fucked up on that moment. So they're just arguing, talking about stuff, and how she feels like she's some kind of monster, and he's all, you're not a monster, you are a superhero, you are the coolest girl that I've ever met, and like explaining to her like her, giving her the hype that she needs at the moment. But it's really not working to her because she feels like she's some kind of monster, or she's some kind of freak, because of what past that she has, that she's remembering of what happened that night in the with Dr. Brenner and everything with all the kids. So she's just remembering that flashback of Dr. Brenner saying, what did you do? What did you do?
Oh,
And she's
boy.
like, but we get a knock on the door with the police.
The corpse.
It's the cops coming after Miss Jane for assaulting Angela, which it was well deserved.
They never take me alive, coppers.
um, it's Jonathan that opens the door. Jonathan's like, "Hello, officers. What are you doing here?" And they're like, "You got a Jane Hopper here?" Like, "Oh, like no, but is Jane's mom here?" "No, she's in Alaska, but I'm the guardian in charge." And asking for Jane. Jane comes out. "You're Jane," and I'm like, "Oh shit."
Bad tummy coming downstairs.
I
Right?
know. Hyped her up and everything. Like, "Oh yeah, let's come down to the living room."
Jonathan was like, "Is this for me? Like they caught me with weed or some shit?" Like,
Shit. Will, go close my window.
yeah.
Go close my window.
Okay, I'm good.
He's all, "It's not me."
That's what I would have thought if I opened the door. Like, oh fuck, they found
Oh
that.
shit.
Just
Close
purple
the
pineapple Kush cologne.
Made it fresh this morning. But the cops arrest Jane. Mike's freaking out. Mike's like, "We're gonna get you out of there. We're gonna get you out of there. We're gonna bail you out. We're gonna get you out of there." And I'm like, how are they gonna do this?
Yeah.
They're teenagers that can't even get someone out because they're not of the legal age or a legal guardian to get her out. So everyone in the neighborhood's just looking at the house like, there's some weird people in there, freaking out. We already got the one neighbor that thinks
Oh yeah,
Joyce
that was
is
looking
freaking
at
weird, taking the kids away because she's trying to get something out of that doll. And then now they're looking at him even more weird because we got Jane over here getting arrested in the front yard. It's just makes it more weirder for them. But nonetheless, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to get her out of jail or juvenile hall because of the age that she's at.
Mhm.
What else
And
do we got?
then it just cuts back to just Joyce and Murray boarding their flight.
Yeah, Jonathan's like, "Have they left yet? Can we still get a hold of them?"
Mhm.
Too late.
They're on the plane, and cell phones don't exist at that time, apparently, or at least convenient cell phones don't exist
Yeah.
at that time.
Have that big old suitcase with your phone and stuff.
You won't believe where I'm calling you from. I'm in the middle of the woods right now.
All you're getting is just static, and the other line, they're like, "What are you? I can't even hear you." Like, stupid.
It kind of makes me curious on how cell phones, if they did have them back. I guess at that time they could have only been like military, because I mean now we use satellites and stuff. But did we have a bunch of satellites in the '80s in the sky to do it? Like how did it work?
They probably did, but they just couldn't figure out the technology behind it to have it ping to here to another phone line down here. But I mean, it's now it went from like the landlines that connected to a cell tower. From the cell tower, it would ping to the satellite in order for you to get to your destination. Is how that it worked now. And then now it's just wireless phone connecting, pinging to the satellite, pinging into the cell tower versus it being from the cell tower to the satellite, if I'm not mistaken. But even then, how'd they figure out that technology to get to that technology? It's wild.
Aliens.
Mm-hmm. Has to be. Or one of them got like stupid high in the 80s and was like, "Oh, dude, this is the best concept that we could get for a cell phone." And they're like,
Hey.
"What? What's a cell phone?"
That's one of the best ideas.
Best ideas always come into play.
Yeah. You just don't have your mind.
You get Joyce and Murray in the plane, kind of sitting, getting comfortable. They're trying to act normal, but like, how can you act normal when you have about 20K? Or is it 10K, 20K? Can't remember
Oh,
the
I think
price.
it's 40K.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
40K.
it's 40K.
40K just
Chilling
casually in your
bag.
bag. Like, how do
Yeah.
they get away with that through security? Just
It's the
40K.
80s.
It's the 80s.
It is
The
the
80s.
80s. They're like, "Oh, you're going to Alaska to go gamble? Cool."
Somebody,
All right.
I don't remember what it was, but somebody had mentioned before that like before 9/11, like there wasn't really like security wasn't as hardcore as it is now. Like you could pretty much take whatever you wanted with you before, and no one really never really occurred or did anything. But after 9/11, it got really, really strict. And yeah, we still got the TSA and all that BS. because of that. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's wild. So you could walk up in there with 40K, they wouldn't even question you. Come
Nope.
back
Nope.
with some white stuff, they wouldn't even question you.
Well, even I was gonna say even now, but that's not true. Your carry on goes through an X-ray now.
Yeah,
But it was like your carry on, pretty much. It was your carry on. Like no one really questioned it.
yeah. They're like, oh, it's your purse? Yeah, it's my purse. Cool. Carry on.
I know I first experienced that this year. I've never been on a plane my entire life, right? So I
Uh
went
huh.
this year to Washington, and then uh, I was like, "Damn, I gotta take your shoes off too for this shit." I'm like, "Damn, they fucking scan everything." Like shit. I'm like, all right, that's good, but I'm just like, that's wild.
Shoes,
Yeah.
belts, I think watches, electronics, and everything you have. If you have on your like actual wrist,
Yeah.
everything you have to take it off. You have to let them know if you've had surgery to have a plate in,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
screws, like stuff like that. Like even then
I was
too,
thrown
like
off.
it
It was
was
like
a
4
lot.
a.m. It was like 4 a.m. I was like thrown off. Like, what do you mean I got to take off my belt? Like, I'm not wearing a belt. Like,
See, whenever
like
me and Franco traveled to Vegas for it was a double or nothing. I've never been on a plane. I think he has, but I experienced this and I was like, no, man, like it's too early in the morning for this. I haven't even gone through to go get a coffee yet to deal with this kind of stuff. And when they tell you the wait is a wait is a wait. Like you have to get there early, like stupid early to get yourself in situated.
Mhm.
We got there because our flight was I think at 11. We got there at 6 a.m., 6 7 a.m.
Ooh, that's early.
We well it's like early, but like San Antonio is like the main place where you have a
Yeah.
lot of travelers, so we're like
Mhm.
we've got told like hey we got to go there early to get it
Hmm.
done. We got there early, it wasn't as bad, but when we were coming back from Vegas, going through that whole security stuff was just ridiculous. It's stupid, but yeah.
I want to make
Back
sure you
to
weren't
Stranger
finding a
Things.
prostitute in there.
Yeah, she was kind of folded up in there, but I told her just to breathe, but
No,
they
prostitutes stay in Vegas.
they're like this isn't free. Toss her back out. I
You're gonna
guess.
have to dispose of this prostitute. There's the prostitute container over there. We
They're all
recycle
just
our
standing there.
prostitutes here.
I can't. No. Um, what else happens? We
So
get
then
them on the
after
plane.
that, we go to where Hopper and Enzo are talking.
Oh yeah.
Enzo is letting Hopper know that he's got in contact with his partner or whoever, and that they're coming this way, and that he needs to be able to get out and get on the plane by this certain time. Um, and then yeah, basically just talk about the plan or what he needs to plan because he's like, I'm not helping you. That's all on you, man. You do whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Why? And I think that's when Hopper's like freaking out. He's like, "Well, how did Joyce get this like, amount and how is she like is it just her by herself or is someone else coming with her?" Like all we know is just it's just Joyce by herself for
Mhm.
Hopper's sake. And it's just him kind of like, well, she's the grown ass woman, she can do it, but like, what if they just take her money and then run? Like thought
Mm-hmm.
process wise for him, he's just
Yeah,
kind of like thinking about it.
he questions it like, is this person trustworthy
Yeah.
um, and stuff. So obviously cares and wants to make sure she's safe. Um, I
What's
wonder,
the
like,
what's the pilot's name? I keep forgetting his name. That
uh, shit,
the cricket one.
Yuri.
uh,
Yuri.
Yuri. There you go. Yuri.
Yuri's fish and fry.
That's where that's where he kept asking Enzo, like, "Are you sure? Can you trust your pilot?" That's where it begins the whole trusting the Yuri guy. He's crooked. Um, so yeah, it's just that conversation of between him and Hopper.
Him and Hoppa. We get the crew back at Dustin's. Dustin and all the crew is back at Max's house. They're sitting on that picnic table where Nancy and Eddie's uncle were sitting at
Mm.
before. They're talking about Chrissy's death and Fred's death, and like how everything else is like connected to everything. Hold on. What, baby? Oh, she's getting a snack. Um, where was I at? They're all talking about how the deaths were, and they feel some kind of type of like energy there when they're talking about it. Like it just feels kind of weird. Like
Mhm.
even the way that the camera is angled, the way that like they all start looking around, it just makes it feel like a little
Someone's
eerie.
present.
Yeah, like someone's there, but you can't see them. You don't know who they are,
Yep.
why they're there. Um, but that's when Nancy says she has a hunch. She knows something, but she's not relaying back to the whole group. And Nancy wants to break away. Steve doesn't like that Nancy wants to go by herself. So Steve is like, I can go with you. And then Robin's like, well, who's going to drive the car? And he's like, you are, Robin. And she's like, well, I don't have my license. And that's when Max is like, hey, I could drive the car. And he's like, no, not like
Not
last
again.
time. Not again.
Dustin.
And Dustin was like, can drive the car. And he's all, no, absolutely not. So they keep on throwing the keys like back and forth, like who's gonna drive this car? And then Robin takes the initiative and was like, "I'll go with her." And Steve's like, "Always stuck with the kids."
Always stuck with the kids. What a
So-
mom.
I thought about like that scene for a little bit because I remember initially being like, "F you, Robin. You know Steve's the protector," trying to diss him, saying, "What
Trying
do you
to-
need to protect? Do you need to protect us?" And then I thought about it because I seen a meme the other day that was like, every season since the first season, Nancy has had a gun. Like I think she's even licensed to carry now at this
Mhm.
point. So it's just like she always has a gun on her at all times. And I'm just like, maybe she doesn't need protection. Maybe she can't. Maybe she can
Yeah.
just blow someone's head off herself.
maybe it's her protecting Steve
Hmm.
instead. Because come on, man. And season 1, he got his ass kicked by Jonathan.
Yeah.
Season 2, he got his
Got his
ass
ass
kicked
kicked.
by
It was
Billy.
That wasn't fair.
Yeah.
It was caught by surprise on the first
Look,
one.
man. Season 3, he got his ass kicked by fucking Russians, was it?
Then he
And
got
then-
revenge at
That
the end,
wasn't fair. He was
so-
tied to a chair.
Okay, but like he got the first hit on the Russian and didn't
Hey,
knock him
kicked that
out.
one Russian's ass. You
Yeah, but
remember?
he didn't
got
fully knock
he
him
got
out.
one.
He didn't fully knock him out, and like
He
they
did.
still,
I mean, doesn't
he
mean he
hit
had to
the
be.
button.
He was
to
only
alert
he was
them.
knocked out for like 2 minutes.
2 seconds. I felt like
a
2 minutes,
knockout
but
is a knockout.
you know what? You're right. 2-1.
Yeah.
But this season we didn't get like it could have been like Nancy saving him, maybe. You don't know. Maybe so.
Well, they
She's
kinda
always
did,
carrying.
whenever later in the thing.
Yeah. We'll find out when we get there. You get there when we get there. But they break off into different groups to figure out what's going on and why. So we got Steve, Max, and Dustin, the kids and Steve back together again. And then Robin and Nancy heading out on Nancy's hunch. And I guess we get a little bit more detail on who this Victor Creel is.
Yeah.
And I think the kids are going to go get more information on how Chrissy and Fred are connected together.
That's when Vecna goes through his next victim.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
starts looking through his next victim, and this is when he lays mental eyes on one of the basketball boys.
Yeah.
They're sitting in the car. He hears that loud, ringing sound, and they're like,
Starts
"Hey, your nose
bleeding.
is, your nose is
Yeah.
bleeding. That's disgusting." I'm like, "Come on, man!
Fuck, why would you say that?
Yeah, nosebleeds are nosebleeds. It happens
Like,
when they.
oh,
How could you, bro?
Sorry.
Like,
Sorry, dude. I didn't mean to just start nosebleeding.
He's like, "Sorry, bro. I didn't mean to start my period. Hold on.
that's so stupid. What the fuck, bro? Why right now?
Why right now? We're in the middle of trying to find the killer for
So
Chrissy."
bad, bro.
Just
Oh,
Put a
God.
nose pad, put a nose tampon in to help out. What else happened?
Oh, that's when they pull up to Eddie's house or friend's house, whatever, right?
Oh,
They're
Reefer
rehearsing.
Ricks. Oh,
Yeah. And that's where they start talking shit. Like, where's Eddie? Where's this? I know you know where he's at. And that's where they just start beating up the Eddie's crew.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right. And that's when they point out like Sinclair, and he's
Mhm.
all, huh? Like the whole
Yeah.
Spider-Man thing. Like, oh
Yeah.
shit. But he's like, and they all turned to all turned to Lucas and was like, "How do they know you?" He's like, "Well, it's my sister. Like my sister plays with those freaks." And they just look at him like, "Bitch, did you just call us freaks when you're one of us?" And you're just like, he's like, "All we're trying to do is just find Eddie." And I'm like, "You're not gonna get the info that way, my guy. You could have been honest." But I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to see it from their point of view to their like to help out the main crew to give them info like, hey, Jason's looking for Eddie, and he hasn't even had a chance to talk to any of the guys from the crew because he's still mad that they didn't show up to his last game or canceled the D&D game like he asked him to, so he could have played that last campaign. But he tries to say it's his sister that's a part of the freaks. It's not him. They can't call his bluff, but they know that he's lying. And that's when Jason's like kicking some ass, trying to find out where uh, Eddie is. And then they mention Dustin's name. And Lucas is like, oh,
Oh,
fuck.
shit. Yeah.
So that's one step closer connecting Dustin and Lucas and all the crew together. But yeah, they start panicking. Well, he starts panicking. And then is it when they go? Is it with Nancy and Robin at the library? Or am I
Um,
missing a scene? Because I feel like I'm missing a scene on my notes.
they just cut to the police station with Mike and
Yeah.
Jonathan and Will trying to, bail out 11, but they're not obviously legal guardians.
And then they're
So
questioning Eleven and
Yeah.
booking her and getting her fingerprints and stuff like that.
That's where they transport her somewhere in a minivan.
In a minivan.
And she gets, and you get the sad scene where Mike feels like she's in the vehicle. I don't think he knows that she's actually in there.
Yeah.
Nah.
You can't really see. But
So I was like, how do you see? But yeah, anyway.
but Elle definitely saw him.
Oh yeah.
Elle was like, I'm a monster.
She feels like she's some type of monster in there in cuffs in that van. And they're
driving away. And then we get back to Joyce on the plane still, and then Hopper starting to plan his escape.
the breakdown.
Starts talking to an inmate, offers to trade him. I think it was.
Oh yeah. It was like bread and soup or some shit. Yeah.
To break his chain.
Well, at first it was just the bread to get him to break.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then the guy was like, took all the food and was like, okay. And Hopper was like, here, take it all.
He's like, God damn it, I wanted my moldy soup today. I was just trying to offer you my stale ass bread.
Right? Yeah. But he's starting his plan to escape. And then we get the shot to the scene where Robin and Nancy just get to the library, and Robin is like trying to figure out Nancy. He's like, do you not like me? What's going on? He's like, I've been told that I talk a lot and I don't really notice social cues. I'm not a very social person.
Which Nancy kind of like corrected her and was like, yeah, you talk a lot. And I'm like, shit.
And you can tell like Nancy's just super annoyed, like
because she thinks in her head that Robin and Steve are a thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. They're always hanging out with each other. And it's Nancy's little jealousy side, like, of her. Mm-hmm. And you can tell how she's getting very annoyed with Robin as the way that she's hitting the bell every single time. Like, it starts off lightly. And then, like, Robin still keeps on going. She hits it again. And it's a little bit harder. And then Robin just keeps on going and going, and she's just like constantly like just hitting it. And the lady's like, "I'm coming." I was like, oh. Nancy's like, "I just want to get my shit, like go look at everything, and then that's it. I'm done."
Right. And let's see. And then you kind of switch from that scene to Steve and Dustin inside the car, and Dustin telling Steve that, what was all that? Or were you just throwing yourself at Nancy? And then, like, what do you mean?
He's like, "I'm not."
And it's funny too, because it's just like Steve does prove a pretty good point. He's like, there's a psycho killer going around. Like, no, I just don't want her to be out there by herself, like when she can get harmed. And he's like, sure, Mr. Throw yourself at Nancy. And then
they started insulting each other, right? And then I forgot what Steve said.
Steve's like, "I'll knock your teeth back in, Henderson," and he's just like, "Dude, too far, man."
Yeah,
too far. And he just kind of turns.
Both of them just kind of like stop for a second. And he's just like, "Oh, sorry, man," and then just like sit in silence.
And I'm just trying to think of Max's reaction in the background while this is going on. Like, it's them two, and she's just there in the background.
Well, Max was already inside.
Inside.
Max
That's right.
Inside, yeah, with the counselor's house.
I feel like it would have been a little bit funny, at least, to have her in there and like before like.
It just shows them two, but it cuts to a wide shot of just Max in the back. Like, okay, I'm gonna go inside now.
I'm gonna go inside now. So like, y'all handle this. Cool. Closes the door, like walks in, but like
then,
I guess
and then you get that scene.
Yeah.
Max
we get the whole scene with Max, the counselor. I feel like this is kind of like a weird thing back in the day to like now. Like, we can't just go up to our counselor's house and be like, "I need some assistance, and I know that we're on break, but I need to talk to you." Like, but they go inside. Max is trying to relay some type of feeling, but like she's not really opening up. She just wants to get the key. She just wants to find out like any information to Fred and Chrissy and how they're connected, or did they both go to her at the same time? Like, we just got to figure it out. And we're not getting really much out because the counselor's like, "I'm not breaking that student-teacher confidentiality thing." And Max is like, "Well, damn, if I'm not going to go anywhere with this, I might as well try to open up. And then if I can't try to open up, I'm just going to ask to go to the bathroom just so I can go." She tries to go to what?
Yeah. I was going to say, I think it was all kind of spontaneously planned. Like, she thought she was going to be able to just milk her counselor for information, but she goes to the bathroom and sees the keys and just like, "All right, I know what I'm doing next."
Grabs the keys, fucking walks out the door. Doesn't like, we don't get no other scene explaining like, did she go to the bathroom or did she just get the keys and walk outside?
That's exactly what happened.
And I'm just like, what? Because like, honestly, if like she was taking a while in the bathroom, the counselor would have gotten up.
Be kind of concerned, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, at least tell her bye, you know what I mean? But like, even then, the counselor's like, "My keys, get back here, you child." But we didn't get that. But we got Max running back into the car, like, drive. And they're like, okay, like trying to get away because she stole some keys that she wasn't supposed to steal to get some information to.
I'm curious if she ever found out if her keys were missing.
I don't know. I don't think she probably did because they were on. Was it summertime?
I don't know.
Spring break. Yeah, they're in the middle of spring break, so she wasn't gonna she wasn't gonna care until it was time.
Until Monday morning.
So I don't know if any of y'all thought about it, but I think it was like a theory that was coming around that the counselor was actually involved in some things. And that was such a tease, because I don't know, maybe it will, go into the further thing, but, she's wearing a clock necklace,
Oh, the key, the clock, the key to the grandfather clock.
Yeah, it's like,
I feel like she has something to do with stuff, like something.
She has to, because like how is she able to get them all on the same page? Well, I mean, it's a counselor's duty to get them on the page for their trauma, to explain their trauma, and to go through that same experience every single time. But like, even then, how is she communicating to Vecna on these people?
Mhm.
But even then, Vecna could be the whole thing where he takes over someone from the outside using like the little mind play thing, like they did with Billy, like they did with
Mhm.
Will, and like basically use them as bait. Or she was probably attacked like the rest of them, like Billy was, and um, in season 3, but she's just one that he kept to survive out of that whole mind flare flesh human thing, and just used
Mhm.
her for bait because he felt like that wasn't gonna work, or he knew it may not work. I don't know. Maybe
Season 5,
season
2024.
5 we'll find out.
Season 5, or they were just teasing us just to kind of
Counselor,
throw us
counselor
off
is
the
now
trail.
Vecna.
I think sometimes people do, or directors like to do that. It's like, I'm gonna tease this to make people speculate, and then don't do anything with it.
Psych, she dies within the first 10 minutes of the show.
Right.
We cry. We're like, fuck.
Okay. So yeah, then Max runs outside and is like, "Go, Steve, go! What are you doing? Stop being like here still. Leave."
He's all, yes, Max, trying to get everything all together in his car.
And then
Then
next,
it's back
Let me
with
see.
Nancy and Robin, right?
Jason and the gang end
Oh,
up at
Jason the
Justin's
gang.
house.
Yes, and this is when they do that whole communication. Like Lucas knows where to go
Mhm.
find the walkies or whatever, the Cerebro, uh, to talk to them. And the boys, just Jason and the boys have a plan on where they're gonna go. They're like, you go this way, you go that way. We'll figure it out from there where we can get Dustin. And Lucas is like, okay, runs away from him, goes into his room through a window, starts trying to communicate with them and let them know like Jason's looking for you and everything. And Dustin's just like, oh fuck, you know, like they're fucked. They don't know, but I think this is when Dustin is telling Lucas as well to meet him at the school at the same time because like they need to give him that information, or we need to tell him what's going on and why or what's going on. So
And that's where the jocks show up and they just they catch Lucas, trying to communicate.
like,
Uh,
Lucas, what are you
yeah,
doing?
I
and
was looking for clues. I'm Scooby Doo.
that's where Lucas then tells them, "Hey, I know where Eddie is," and then just cuts to a different scene. So-
Yep. And then next, Elle's picked up by some agents. as she's
Oh
being
yeah, we get
transported.
that super epic, what is it?
oh,
Runway
it's Fast and Furious
scene.
for a second.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. Fucking Fast and the Furious.
Family.
God damn it, Vin Diesel. Buying off any franchise that you can to collaborate with. It was Jurassic Park, now Stranger Things, sir.
I would find it hilarious, like if like more TV shows did random shit like that. Like, don't actually have Vin Diesel, but have like a scene that Vin Diesel will do, and he's just like a regular like correctional officer or something like
Oh my
that.
God, yeah.
But it's just like it's just like
He's like, it's about family. And that's the only line that he gets throughout the whole
oh, it's
Yeah, he gets
episode.
paid $10 million for that shit.
That was all of Stranger Things budget right there. Like literally just that little scene right there. They had Vin
Oh,
Diesel in that
yeah.
car.
I do find stuff like that funny. Like, I do understand that, like, like as an entertainer, you pay for like the time you can allot for yourself. Like, money's more of a gatekeeping way, so not everyone's coming to you for every single movie offer possible, only for ones that they're really serious about. But if I was an actor like that and I had like a shtick, I would definitely just randomly jump in shit and be like, dude, I'm not even gonna charge you. I'm just gonna jump in here just to jump in here, like
Because I like it.
It would
Yeah.
just be funny as shit to see me, portray this actor I've been portraying for so many years, just jump in here and do this shit. Like it would be funny.
That would
Um,
be. But going on the topic of Vin Diesel, like I don't know how he was able to get the booking for being Groot in a
Oh,
big Marvel series and just being Groot. Like he's the voice of Groot. Like we
he
all
knew
know that he
people.
is, but he just says I am Groot the whole time. Like he could have just been saying family every single time.
family, family, family.
Family.
I am family.
But that's his motto. Like it's I am Groot, but it's really Vin Diesel saying on the mic, I am family.
It's like I believe he was Groot in that.
Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot.
Groot.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
It still kind of trips me out that Bradley Cooper is Rocket.
Yeah.
Every time
Every
time I listen to it, I'm like, man, that doesn't sound anything like the guy from The Hangover. I'm just like,
That's wild.
Anywho, that was my little put away for that because it was just funny. It would just to have randomly Vin Diesel or some kind of person that we have seen in like big major roles just randomly take part of little seasons. But where are we at now? It should be Nancy. It should be Robin and Nancy at the library looking through the.
basically,
Yeah.
You see Joyce and Murray touchdown in Alaska, and then it just kind of switches right from there.
Fucking Murray's line. It's so fucking cold here,
Yeah.
and it's spring.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Alaska. Like the fucking flight attendants, like in a mini skirt, just a regular like thing. Like, hi, welcome to Alaska. Hi, welcome to Alaska. And everybody
every
else
day
is like
here.
fucking shivering. Murray's, it's spring. It's fucking spring, and I'm like, Murray, it's Alaska. It's always cold.
Right.
Eh,
But I had to bring that up because I thought that was just hilarious of them getting off the plane and Murray's just throwing a fit about being how cold it is there.
And then the Nancy and Robin where Robin's still trying to get at Nancy about did she not like her?
And that's when Robin brings up like, hey, if you're mad that I'm talking to Steve, I'm not really with him. Like, I'm not a couple with him. And Nancy's like, psh, psh, what? No, that's not why I'm mad, or that's not why I don't even care. Like,
So you admit that you're mad then?
like we all know you care. We knew that you cared when Robin said she would go with you. Like, come on.
Yeah, and she's like, "What? We're just platonic with a capital P."
yes. And then does it go back to Max and the boys breaking into the school?
Well, they find the old newsreel about Victor Creel,
Mhm.
and then it jumps to the Max and the kids find the files.
Yeah. They find the files, they pull out their files, and Max finds that connection in between them, like as in why they have the same kind of headaches, they're having the same kind of nightmares, they're waking up in sweats, they're
Nosebleed.
nosebleeds, and Max starts to freak out a little bit. So because she's experiencing these types of things but hasn't told anybody that she's experiencing these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get, is it that she pulls out her file as well, right?
Yeah.
She pulls out her file and then she looks at all her notes and then looks at their notes, and that's when she puts like 2 and 2 together that she's a part of this.
That she's,
Yep.
she's
Well, while
about-
this is happening, it shows Dr. Owens talking to 11 about everything that's going down.
Oh yeah, that they're like your friends in Hawkins are not prepared for this fight.
Mhm.
That they may lose. That you may not be able to see them right now, and you may feel like you need to go to them, but you can't because you're not you're not there, or like it's just like you're gonna want to go to them, but there's nothing you can do at this point, and you have to take this chance that maybe you're able to get your powers back, or maybe not. And they're over there eating. They're gonna eat, but they end up not eating.
That
They
pissed
end
me
up
off.
just dipping, which I'm like, bro, you have a whole plate of fucking
That
waffles
pissed me
there,
off.
and then you have a club sandwich coming this way, and I'm just sitting there like, why would you do that? Why would you not eat
It's
your
a
food?
to-go box, you know.
At least a to-go box and tip your waiter, man, waitress.
I was trying to think about what I was going to say. No, I forgot. Sorry.
Oh, but he at least told Eleven that it's not going on our record and that they can make this whole Angela situation disappear. And I'm like, absolutely. I was like, thank you, Owens. I appreciate that because she didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve to get arrested. Angela
Right.
deserved what she deserved, and
Freaking
it was well deserved at that moment.
Very well
But
deserved.
yeah, but I laughed a little bit because he's like, I move you all the way to California to not get in trouble, and look at where we're at. Sorry, it took me a little bit though, and I was like, you made her go through the whole booking, you made her go through the whole thing, and it took you a little late to get there, sir. So
Right.
bad.
Well, teach her a lesson, man. This is what happens next time because I'm not going to bail you out again.
You can't just be smacking people
my
with
goodness.
roller skates. Smack.
Yeah,
Smack.
and then it finally cuts back to Max, right? Or does it just end like that? No, it
Well,
cuts back to Max.
they do. There is that part where Lucas and the gang get to. I'm not sure even what house they ended
Oh,
up at.
it's at the original house that they that Lucas had told him that he's had, but it was
It was Hopper, right? Hopper's little cabin.
Oh, was
or-
it Hopper's cabin? Is that what it
Yeah.
was? Okay.
yeah.
So they get over there and he helps them pretend to search for a little bit and then dips
Like he
and
goes like he's going with them and he stops but doesn't have a flashlight, so he stops and the rest of them are walking, and that's when he waits until they're behind the house and he books it like he's
He did.
running. And in the midst of that, that's whenever the conversation with Owens and Eleven's going on. Like you hear the conversation in the background and it's just Lucas running, and like it's at that moment I was like, finally Lucas has realized that you need to go. Like, you need to go to your friends, your real friends, not
Mhm.
with some cool kids.
Yeah. I think that's it. And
We
then-
do get the
and then
chime. We get
I was
the
going to
clock.
say, and Max hears Vecna, and then
Maxie.
That's where she sees the clock.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
And then-
yep.
the end of the episode.
My heart
That-
dropped when I saw that. I'm not gonna lie.
When I heard him say Maxine, I was like, no, like,
Not Max.
not my Max. But that episode was kind of really good with like, not kind of, but like it was good to the sense that we got a little bit more of a story build for 11.
Mhm.
We got to see, why Owens is treating her the way that she is. Like, oh, we'll make everything disappear, or I'm covering my tracks to protect her, and
Mhm.
he believes in her. Like he fully does.
Mhm.
He took all the power and money to move them all the way to California. Joyce, Will, Jonathan, like all of them. Oh, puppy. But but yeah, like we got to see a little bit more of a story build for her, which was nice. And I like that. Don't want to see anything happen to Max in the next episode. But I feel like this is one of the episodes for the books. One of the top 3 episodes in the series.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm pretty excited. I think that all the extra time they had to record and I guess flesh out the story and stuff like that. I think they've done a really good job of just giving us what's important to end the series with these last 2 seasons and just kind of make every episode very gripping. Like the entire rest of the season we're going to go through, it's just every single episode is just so well done. Like obviously there's the favorites, like the very last episode and number 4 are probably the biggest two on this entire season. But I mean, every episode is at least a 3.5, 4-star out of 5 rating.
Yeah.
With, the other 2 episodes probably being pretty much 5s.
5s.
I think the last time I didn't really, not gonna lie, I didn't enjoy an Stranger Things episode was when, I think it was season 2. Remember when Eleven was with her sister?
Her sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her sister, yeah.
That's honestly, I kid you not, they talked about this, and that's the least rated episode. Like the ratings for like people watching, no one really watched that episode. And whenever they released the whole series, they got the first playthrough, but after that, everyone like would watch watch the episode before and the episode after. They would skip that episode because it didn't have any storyline connected to
it. I actually have a funny story about that. Whenever I was watching the Stranger Things series, I don't know what happened or why, but the ending of that episode before that episode was Elle like coming through the door, and basically it ended.
Yeah.
And then the beginning of that episode after the episode is Elle coming through the door, and it's so seamless. And I don't know what happened or why, but I accidentally skipped the episode in between, and I didn't know. And so I went through the whole season, and I didn't even see that episode whatsoever. Didn't even know it existed. And then I was like all gun ho about Stranger Things, and they did the behind the scenes little mini series on Netflix of Stranger
beyond the Stranger Things or whatever.
Yeah, and so I started watching those episodes, and then they started talking about the sister stuff, and I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like sitting here thinking about, I was like, that never happened. I was like, where did I miss that? Maybe it was in the first season, and I didn't. It's been a while. Maybe I didn't see it. So I started going through all the episodes. There's just one episode just with no watch whatsoever, and I was like, that episode just must have not meant shit because I didn't even notice.
Netflix is like, you don't need to see this.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just didn't happen. It was just so funny that I remember even watching it afterwards because I saw the girl in the behind the Stranger Things, and they start off that season with that with the sister, and then I remember like her just never coming back and just being like, what the hell is the point of that, And then I was like, oh, I skipped the whole episode. I see.
I'm very curious if they try to bring her back in the next season. I wouldn't. Maybe. I'm very curious if like the Duffer Brothers can like save it, like figure out something where she means something now,
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But like technically being like, I don't understand how she even escaped that whole massacre. Like, how was she able to get out that whole massacre, or what? Like, did she escape before?
I think they talk about it in the series. I think one says something about we know 8 has been transferred or left or whatever. I think they mentioned because she was 8, right?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
I think she randomly just name drops like, we all know 8 has left, or you haven't been the same since 8 had left.
Oh yeah, that's
and right. Then instead they kind of start talking a little bit about it, but they don't like go deep dive into it or nothing. They just kind of in passing mention that 8 had left.
Yeah.
And she was just being all mopey and stuff and not really progressing.
Yeah.
So like they mention her, but like I've seen memes about that too. Like, I love how Stranger Things like dropped this episode, and ever since they dropped it, have tried to bury it and just pretend like it never happened. And I kind of like. I don't think I'd be mad if they just never brought it back up. Like,
they should just remove that episode. Honestly,
just remove that episode.
But if they do, like, I can understand like maybe her being like an assist to Elle somehow, because theoretically, Vecna's supposed to be like this super strong, thing. And then I was even seeing more recent reviews, or not reviews, but articles saying that there's going to be another, threat, in the next one that isn't just Vecna. So it's gonna expand. There's gonna be more enemies to fight, so you might need more superpowered people to fight these enemies. So
They're like, you remember your past enemies from the past seasons, guys? Well, they're all back in one
Shit.
episode, in one season. Like, all of them just like,
You definitely need Vin Diesel and his family.
Shit like that reminds me of like Supernatural. Like in Supernatural, you had like season 1, 2, and 3 or 4 or whatever. You had like your big baddies, and then by like season 8 or 9, like their big baddies are just normal baddies that they're killing in one KO shot and stuff. And it's just like, all right, well you had a whole season where you fought a Demogorgon. Now here's 5 Demogorgons. You have to fight.
what's up? And they're like killing them off one by one. I'm like,
Right, like super fast, or Demodogs and Demogorgons. If you want to get like technical, like Demodogs and Demogorgons were like the first, things that were introduced that were like really hard threats for these guys. And Hopper like killed multiple of those in the last season. This season just passed by himself.
Yeah. He offed one with a fucking sword. Like, we're getting a little bit more into it, but like he offed him with one, and I'm just like, bruh, like nothing.
It's that easy.
It took him one whole season to kill one Demogorgon, and Hopper just he smacked like.
It was less than 5 minutes. It was just like, but I mean, to be fair, they previously fought him. He got burned multiple times. He was obviously injured. But still, I mean, this Demogorgon also had fighting. I don't think they're stupid. Like, I think they learn.
They're smart.
And obviously, he was a gladiator. That was a trained Demogorgon gladiator. No other Demogorgon has those kind of skills, really, when you think about it.
He's training the other Demogorgons in the back, like, all right, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. Like, it's fucking. I just have a bonus episode with them seeing the fucking Demogorgons training other Demogorgons on how to fucking fight like a gladiator. See, this is human. We throw against wall to eat, and then they.
You eat their face.
He's all. I can't. He's all open mouth like this. Face.
Open mouth like this.
I can't.
Oh yeah, then what else? I guess that was it, huh?
That was episode 3.
That was episode 3.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3. The monster and the superhero.
Apparently, this is actually a comic book type of deal. Stranger Things.
Is it?
That's what I think I've seen more recently. That the stories continue, in comic book form. So even if this doesn't continue, there's still comic books, I think.
Okay, so we're definitely gonna need to find those comics. Then.
Hell yeah.
But all right, this finishes up chapter 3. This is a good one. I liked it because of the character build that we get. And then we're going on to majority of our favorites for the next episode, which is Dear Billy. Dear Billy.
I wrote you, but you still ain't called.
You ain't still called. No. He's like, I'm calling from the other side. Gotta get
Call
through.
me from the other side.
But alrighty, guys. This episode will hopefully be dropping in the next couple of weeks. We still got a bunch of recordings to go through. If you haven't checked out already, we are the Deep Dive Through the Upside Down. We have an Instagram page under Deep Dive Through the Upside Down. Follow us all over wherever you get your podcast from. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We even upload it on YouTube as well for video. The YouTube. What else am I missing, boys? Got it all? I think I got it all.
That's about it.
I think that's it.
That's it.
All right. Bet. Catch y'all guys